This workflow is going to use Phoenix FD to generate a city flood simulation. I'm going to start by creating topography. To do that, I'm going to bring up a box and set the dimensions of that box to 400 by 250. I'm also going to give it some height, and we want to add quite a few segments on that. So I've added 80 by 40 segments. Now, in order to project topography onto this box, I'm going to come into this website, and I've zoomed in on an area of Melbourne and exported this digital elevation model. In order to project that digital elevation model onto this box, I need to add a displace modifier. I can then drag that dim into the material editor and connect it to that modifier. Altering the strength will allow that to show up. I'm going to turn this layer off for now. And we're going to generate the building layer. For that, I'm going to bring up a plane of the same dimensions, 400 by 250. Now, I want both of these layers to align. So if I bring up the greeble, I can set them both to 0, 0 on the X and Y value. But I want to raise that building layer to just below the surface of the topography. Now, in order to generate buildings, I'm going to add a greeble modifier. For this first layer, we're going to set the height to 0, 0 because we want to create some separation between the buildings. So we're going to add a 30-meter taper. We also want to select tops, and I'm going to add an edit poly. Now, by coming into the top view and selecting polygons, I can hold down Alt and then deselect some of those polygons. What this is going to do is allow the water to move through our city. These are going to act as roads. I just want to turn the buildings off at one end so we can create a liquid source up there. I can now add another greeble. And for this particular greeble, I'm going to set the minimum height to 6 and the maximum to 20. And we don't need a taper. Okay, we now have our two layers, our topography and our building layer. Now we can get started with the water simulation. For this, I'm going to add a Phoenix liquid grid. We want this liquid grid to fall within the dimensions of our topography and city. So I've come into the top view to draw this, and then I can come back into perspective view for the height. We also need to add a liquid source. Now, for that liquid source, we need to specify somewhere for that liquid to emanate from. So for that, I'm going to draw a plane, and I want that plane to be falling within the Phoenix grid as well. So I'm going to set the width of that to something slightly less than the width of the grid, and then come into the top view to ensure that falls within there. We then need to let the liquid source know that this is the location from where the water is going to emanate from. So by coming into the modifier of the liquid source, we can add that plane. Finally, we're just going to change some settings within the liquid simulator. Within grid, I'm going to increase resolution. And then I want to enable FUM to create a more realistic simulation. I'm going to also enable splash. That's going to add a particle shader for both of those. And then we can change some of the settings under dynamics. So I'm going to alter both of these, steps per frame and timescale. I need to keep those within the same ratio. I'm also going to increase the gravity to 7 or 8. I can now run that simulation and observe the effects.